Okay, so pretty excited and stoked here because I recently got my hands on a brand new tripod from Ulanzi. That's right, Ulanzi, if you guys don't know, makes a lot of budget-friendly products for camera gear and tripods, accessories and whatnot. Recently, they've been trying to tackle the more professional market with this right here. This is the brand new Ulanzi VideoFast carbon fiber twin leg tripod. Okay, let's first see what's inside the box, or should I say bag. Of course, you get a travel case, you have the tripod inside, and inside this little zipper pouch right here, you have the Manfrotto quick release plate, you have a handle for the tripod, you have a pan handle, and then you also have a hex screwdriver, and then last but not least, the very important instruction manuals. Okay, now that we've got that out of the way, let's go through the brief overview of this tripod and walk through the entire tripod and show you guys what this tripod has to offer in terms of feature. It is pretty well packed in terms of features. Obviously, there are things that I don't quite like about it, but we'll get to those at the end. Let's just go over the features right now. So let's start on the bottom and work our way up. So on the bottom here, you have a set of pretty nice carbon fiber legs. These are pretty typical. There's nothing really very special about them, but on the bottom you have these rubber feet. They are swiveling, and then if you take the rubber off, then you have spikes. Moving up, we have the mid-level spreader. So this spreader is plastic, which is obviously not the most ideal, but there's a few things that's nice about it. First of all, you can take it off with literally just the buttons on the side here. Very convenient. And the other thing is that you have buttons on the middle, and you can literally just slide the spreader, each leg of the spreader, farther apart or closer together. And the nice thing is that there's also increments to show you where you are. So that helps you remember next time if you're, oh, I'm on the 4th position, for example. Like I mentioned, it is plastic, which is not the most ideal, but you have a spreader, so there's that. I don't believe they have a ground level spreader option. I have to double check on the website, but I believe they only sell the mid-level spreader option. So if you do like ground level spreaders, this might not be the tripod for you. In the middle, there is a little key ring that just helps you easily pull up the entire tripod and collapse it for traveling purposes. So that is nice. Moving up from that, we have the locking mechanism. So this is the fast system, as a lot of these tripods nowadays like to call it. This system is honestly nothing really new anymore. It was new back a few years back when Sachtler first came up with this system to allow you to basically move the tripod and adjust the tripod's height at ease. But honestly, nowadays a lot of tripods are doing this as well, so it's not really a new thing. I'd be surprised if there's a video tripod that comes out that doesn't have this. Essentially what it is normally when you have tripod legs, this is a 3-stage leg. So if you have a 3-stage leg, you typically have 2 locking mechanisms for the tripod. This reduces it down to 1 lock per leg, which means that you can easily just unlatch each leg and pull the tripod up, pull it down, whatever you need to do, and then just lock it back in place at ease. They are a little bit tight, but I mean, I guess that's a good thing. You don't want your camera just fall, right? So lock them down in place at ease. You don't have to like bend down and reach for that lock that's on the bottom of the tripod near the ground, for example. It makes it a lot easier to adjust. Moving up from that, you have essentially these legs. These legs are carbon fiber. They are, honestly, I have to say, a little bit heavier than I expected. Prior to this, I've never actually used carbon fiber twin leg tripods before. I've used the single tube legs, and from what I recall, they're super light. But for this one, a twin leg tripod, I've usually only used aluminum ones, and honestly, this feels exactly the same weight as most aluminum twin leg tripods. So I'm actually very surprised. Overall, this entire package feels rather heavy for carbon fiber tripods. All the pieces aside from the carbon fiber are plastic, so that's one thing to note. Is it a very nice quality of plastic? I mean, honestly, I don't think so. I mean, looking at the edges of these plastic bits, I see that there's like parts where it's kind of rough and unfinished, and then there's like little bits here and there that seems kind of, it doesn't look very premium in terms of the plastic quality. These latches for the lock are also plastic. Now the joint in there to pull the lock tight is metal, but the actual latch is plastic. So that's one thing to note, is that these things are plastic. How long are they gonna last? Are they gonna be durable for a long time? I don't know, but do know that they are plastic, and to my eyes, they don't look like a very heavy duty or premium quality type of plastic. On the top here, where it connects with the head, you do have a metal, I guess, base right here. and on each side there is this 1/4 with RE locking pins. This is nice if you want to attach, a magic arm, a monitor to it, whatnot, but it also comes with a handle inside the box. Now this is a metal handle that you can attach to either one of these sides of the tripod, whichever one is comfortable for you to use, and it's a very nice handle. It's fully metal, and there's also a NATO rail on the handle itself. And it's just nice to have one that you can just allow you to pick up the tripod and move it around at ease, so you don't have to like hold it by the head or by the legs. You can just literally pick it up from the handle. It is metal though, so do note that it will probably get cold if you're out and about in the snow, for example. It will probably get cold, but the legs are carbon fiber, so they won't get cold. So I mean, pick your poison, right? Moving up to the head, the most exciting part. So we have a head here that is a 75mm bowl, and on the bottom you have this this adjustment. Like every single fluid head, you have this knob that allows you to adjust the position of it. It is not a quick release handle on the bottom here, so it's not like one of the ones where you just spin it 2 or 3 times and you just pull it down and the entire head comes off. You literally have to spin this like 20-30 times to get the head on and off. On the left side here, you have a little spirit level. It is not illuminated, but it does have a white backing, which can probably help if you're in lower light situations and you need to see where that bubble is. It'll probably help a little bit, but obviously if you have no light at all, an illuminated bubble or spirit level will probably be a lot better. In terms of the fluid head itself, overall the design of it is fine. It looks like a lot of typical tripod fluid heads that are currently out there in the market that are sold by, for example, Suri or Small Rig or E-Image or Smooth Camera Gear. A lot of these knobs and these features here are placed in, I would say, correctly placed locations, very much like the Satchler tripods out there, which is good because these are kind of standardized nowadays. If you look at some other companies like Manfrotto, they like to do some random design that is completely, mind-boggling and makes absolutely no sense. A fluid head that I owned prior to this one was the Manfrotto 502 head. It is a very budget-friendly head that a lot of people start off with, and I've owned that for like probably close to 10 years. And it absolutely makes no sense. The locking mechanism for the tilt is on the right side of the head, which means that if I'm using the tripod, I need to take my right hand off the pan handle to lock it, which means the camera will start dipping or whatnot and moving around. Or I can take my left hand and wrap it around the fluid head to lock. It makes absolutely no sense. So basically on the bottom here, you have the pan drag control. It's a step system, so it's not stepless, so you can't dial it in exactly how you want, but it goes from 0 all the way to 6. So that's quite a few steps for you to choose from, which is pretty good. On the left side here, right here, you have the tilt drag control. Again, stepped from 0 all the way to 6. And then back here, you have your counterbalance control. This is nice because it goes from 1 step counterbalance all the way to 10 step. And that is rare to see on a tripod this inexpensive. Did I mention the price? I didn't mention the price. This tripod comes in at $500. That's a lot of tripod for $500, right? So 10 stop counterbalance is pretty nice. A lot of times you'll see them come in at like maybe 3 stops, 4 stops, 6 stops, but this gives you 10. On top of that, we have 2 rosette mounts. So you have one on the left and one on the right. You can put your pan handle on either side, or if you have a second pan handle, you can put one on each side. On the top here, you have a quick release system. This is a drop-in quick release system, and it accepts Manfrotto plates. So essentially just drop it in and there you go. If you do want to slide it forward and back to adjust it, you have to kind of unlatch it a little bit, and then that allows you to move it back and forth before latching it back in place once again. Okay, looking at the height of the tripod, the minimum height with the spreader expanded all the way out is 29.5 inches, and then the maximum height with the spreader compressed back in is 63.75 of an inch to the top of the fluid head. Okay, so right now I have a very simple setup, and this is just to show you guys what the action of the pan and the tilt looks like. Basically, I could be going through the different increments for the drag controls for both pan and tilt and showing you guys what the performance looks like here. So let's first start off with the pan controls. I'm going to start off with 0, so no pan whatsoever, no pan drag whatsoever. And we're going to see what that looks like. Okay, so I'm going to first hit record, and I'm going to start here at Mr. Boba Boy, and I'm gonna pan to the right to show the big scary brown bear, and I'm gonna let go of the handle. Okay, and I'm gonna go back to Mr. Boba Boy, let go of the handle, and then back to big brown bear, let go of the handle. Okay, every single time I'm doing this, I'm just ever so slightly touching the pan handle, and I'm letting go, and I'm trying my best not to introduce any additional micro jitter whatsoever. Okay, so as you can see here, several things. First of all, the pan movement is pretty choppy. Okay, you can say that that's probably because of me, sure, but because there's no resistance for the pan, it is quite choppy and it's inconsistent. It's like suddenly it's like smooth, and it'll have a little bit of resistance, and it'll go back to smooth again. So you can see it from the footage I just captured. It's a little bit choppy without any resistance whatsoever on the 0 setting. The other thing that's very noticeable is the fact that there's quite a bit of backlash. Every time I get to the end of a movement, when I let go of the pan handle, it literally whips back pretty drastically. Let's go back once again, just one more to Mr. Boba Boy, and his light went off. Okay, hold on, let me turn that back on. And then back to big scary brown bear, let go. It's very obvious. Hold on, let me turn on Boba Boy's light again. Okay, so that's 0. So let's go to number 1. So I'm gonna let it engage. I'm gonna wiggle it a little bit, let it engage. I'm gonna start from the right side here, the big brown scary bear, and then I'm gonna go over to Mr. Boba Boy and let go. Back over to the big brown bear and let go. Back over to Boba Boy and let go. Back to the big brown bear and let go. So it looks to me like on number 1 setting, it's better. It's more obvious going to the left than to the right. So going to Boba Boy is very obvious. There's still backlash, but going to the big brown bear, it's not really there anymore, or at least it's very dampened. So that seems to be a good sign. Let's go to number 2. So again, let it engage. Go to the left to Boba Boy, let go. Still there. Back to big brown bear, let go. Back to Boba Boy, let go. Back to big brown bear, let go. So I don't know if it's just me, but that looked worse. Going both ways, you still see quite a bit of backlash. Every single time I let go of the panhandle, there's backlash there. If you keep your eye close to the edge of the frame, you'll see it very clearly. So let's go to, this is number 3, and I'm gonna let it engage. So I'm gonna go to the left to Boba Boy, and I'm gonna let go. Go back to the right, and then let go. Still there. Let's try number 4. Let it engage. Okay, going to Boba Boy, let go. Going to the big brown bear, let go. Okay, let's go number 5. Let it engage. Boba Boy, let go. Big brown bear, let go. And then last but not least, number 6, let it engage. So the reason why I'm wiggling like that is because what I've noticed is that if you don't wiggle it around, the drag control or the drag switch, it's not going to engage immediately. So what happens is when you're actually doing your shot, you're doing your movement, it might engage midway, and most of the time it'll ruin your shot because suddenly it's jolted, and the resistance, the movement suddenly changes. So what I do is I like to move it around first, just to make sure it's engaged before I start my movement. So right now there's quite a bit of tension, quite a bit of resistance. It's very smooth. Like the action itself is very smooth. It's just once you get to the end and let go of your hand, there's a little bit of backlash there. And it looks like it's a lot better, but it's still there. From 1 to 6, it's pretty similar. Probably at the sixth increment, it's better because there's more resistance, but it's still there. When you're on number 0, it is very obvious. And actually throughout the range, it is still obvious. It's just less and less distracting, I would say, but it's still there and it's still noticeable. I would say this: if you take your hand off the panhandle, be very careful. Do it slowly, or just keep your hand on the panhandle if you can. For myself, when I'm panning, I typically do like to just ever so slightly nudge the panhandle one way or another and then take my hand off afterwards, just because I don't want to accidentally introduce any micro jitters or movements from my hand to the actual camera itself. And so I typically just ever so slightly and then take it off. But seems like with this tripod, that's not the best way to tackle it. Now going on to the tilt, usually I do keep my hand on the panhandle if I need to tilt, mainly because a lot of times these counterbalances, it's not perfect. So the camera might not be perfectly counterbalanced. It's gonna stay in place, but it's still gonna, move back or forward just a little bit, right? So right now, my counterbalance is fine. Yeah, at number 3, it's perfect for this camera, but you can still see once I let go, it's gonna snap back just ever so slightly. And that's just because the counterbalance isn't dialed in just perfectly, because it's not a stepless counterbalance system, it is stepped. So there's that. So I'm just gonna just show the movement and see how well it moves throughout the range. So I'm gonna start right here with the big scary brown bear, and I'm gonna just tilt down. Currently I'm on the 0 setting, so there's no resistance whatsoever. I'm just gonna tilt down, and oh look, there's Pikachu right there. Hi Pikachu, there you go. And then I'm gonna go back up, and I'm gonna go down, and I'm gonna go back up, and I'm gonna go down. It works fine. So let's go to number 1, let it engage. Overall, the action for both pan and tilt feels perfectly fine. I would say if you have no resistance, it's a little bit choppy, but I personally wouldn't use 0 resistance anyways. 1, it's still kind of iffy, but 2 to 6 for both pan and tilt feels great. It's just for the pan, you have to kind of work around that backlash. It is very, very, very pronounced. Just make sure you don't take your hand off the panhandle. If you do take it off, just do it very, very slowly, and just try to keep it on there as much as you can. Now, I wish I could say this tripod was perfect, but unfortunately, nothing in this world is perfect, and this tripod is, of course, no exception. There are a few things that I find to be quite annoying, quite strange, and just doesn't really work very well with this tripod. Aside from the performance stuff that I talked about earlier, there's a little bit of backlash with it. That is something that you have to be aware of, but overall, the design of this tripod is sometimes not that great either. So let's first start off with some of the smaller things, and then we'll work our way up to the more important stuff. So first and foremost, when I unboxed this tripod, one thing I noticed was there was some sort of like sticky substance on the base of the fluid head. Unfortunately, I forgot to take a picture. I forgot to film it. That was my bad. But just believe what I'm saying is that there was some sort of sticky substance on the base of this fluid head. It's probably the fluid head lubricant, I'm guessing, that somehow leaked out or whatnot. Yeah, I mean, doesn't seem like it's affecting performance, but yeah, it was sticky, it was gross. Yeah. Another complaint that I would say, which is quite small, but I wish this has a telescopic pan handle. A lot of the other companies that have new tripods coming out do have one, and it's nice to be able to, just shrink it and make it more compact when you store it away. Not a deal breaker, not a big deal. Just have to fold this down to get it back into the bag itself. One thing I do find to be, obviously a little bit annoying is the fact that this is a lot heavier than I expected in a tripod, carbon fiber tripod, to be specific. Maybe it's just my lack of experience using carbon fiber video tripods. Again, I have used other carbon fiber tripods before in the past, but the single tube ones. So primarily they're more for photography, but they were super light. And this feels like the same weight as every other aluminum twin leg video tripod that I've used in the past. So I mean, honestly, I'm a little bit disappointed to see that. I wish it was lighter given that this is carbon fiber, but unfortunately that is not the case. The next thing I would say is this quick release lever right here. So let me give you guys a demonstration. So this lever is, nice for convenience. You can drop it down. It's it's one of those drop-in quick release, super nice, right? But once you finish shooting and you take the camera off this fluid head, here's the plate, it goes with your camera, you take it off, well, now you suddenly have this giant lever that's sticking out perpendicular to the tripod. And in order for me to store this back into the bag, I need to fold this lever back down somehow. So lately what I've been doing is I've been taking a little hex screw and doing that. Now, that left a scratch. So, I mean, like, it doesn't seem to be the most efficient solution out there. I don't really want to use my finger because it seems, kind of painful. If you are somebody that typically likes to take the plate off of your camera and store it with your tripod, this makes sense. But I don't know, a lot of times we don't do that, right? This plate stays with your camera and this is just left blank. So it doesn't really make sense for it to be, there needs to be a better solution here. This doesn't really make sense. You have to find a way to get this to close back down without needing to have to like stick something into the joint right there. Moving on to the more important things I would say is overall, this tripod does not give me that sense of quality that a lot of other tripods in its class has. One example would be the E-Image GH06. I've used that tripod a few times and I was really blown away by the quality of that tripod given its price point. It's more expensive than this, but still, like, it has that level of quality there that feels super smooth when you use it, and it feels better. This doesn't feel that great. That being said, it also has, I would say, better features like the counterbalance system. There's more stops, it's better. The drag system gives you more stops as well, so it's nice. Some of these parts are pretty nice quality metal, but then there's also some other parts that are plastic, and it just feels, kind of like it's a mix of premium and cheap all in one. In terms of the quality issue, one thing that I do think is a bigger deal is these locks right here. So first of all, these knobs are plastic. Not a big deal that the actual screw is metal, so it's fine, but the knobs are plastic, so FYI. But these knobs are not, they don't lock and disengage fully. So this right now is locked. This is unlocked, but it's not fully unlocked. And so when I move the tilt, you can feel that it's grinding on the lock a little bit. It's like catching onto the lock just ever so slightly, and it just doesn't feel very smooth. You literally have to like move it further out to really disengage that lock so you can move it fully. And it just seems strange that you have to do that because, again, like I said, I've used other tripods before in the past, and a lot of times this is enough to disengage it and this is enough to lock it. And even in this lock position, I can still move the tilt axis, and it's grinding. It doesn't feel smooth at all, but you can still move it, and it's overall just doesn't feel that great. You really need to like crank it down, tighten it up, or you need to fully disengage it before you can move it around. Again, I've used other fluid heads before in the past, primarily the E-Image 06, and all you need to do is just go from this to this, and it's a very smooth operation. And the last thing I kind of want to say is that this tripod, you can actually get it pretty high. So as I showed in the previous clip, you can actually get it to about like 60 inches, give or take. So it's a pretty high tripod, but if you do have a heavy camera on this tripod, look down and make sure the legs are not bending, because what I've noticed is that these carbon fiber legs, especially the last stage, it only has one tube. When you look down at it and you have a heavy camera on the tripod, you have it raised all the way up here, the legs are kind of, they're bending and they're kind of collapsing a little bit. Just overall, it doesn't inspire a lot of confidence. At this height, I think it's fine, right? So this is the height that typically I think a lot of people, including myself, shoot at, kind of eye level, and a lot of times this is fine. Anything lower, of course, is very stable as well, but as soon as you bring it up, if you have a heavy camera, should be something you're going to be aware of. If you have a light camera, probably not a big deal, but just be aware that at the maximum height, these legs, they do bow inwards, and so it's like, again, it doesn't scream high quality at all. But that's the thing, right? Like this tripod, like I said, is $500. that is a lot of features, a lot of tripod for $500. And if you can just look past some of these like small nitpicky stuff, and I mean some of these things are not quite nitpicky, but still, like if you can just work around it, I think you're getting great value for money at $500. Anyways, that is my look at the Ulanzi Video Fast twin head carbon fiber tripod. If you agree with me, perfect, give me a like. If you disagree with me, that's okay, it's a free country. Anyways, bye.